What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Amanda Nybert, registered dietitian, here for my Thursday live series in 2023. And I actually polled my audience very quickly to see, what do you want to talk about today? Because sometimes I feel like we talk about the same thing over and over. And so a lot of you said, let's talk about stress and emotional eating. And I love this topic because I do feel like there are a lot of people struggling to find successful ways to manage scenarios that create stress in your life, that create high levels of emotion in your life, that you tend to address with food. Yes, so gonna dive into that. And I've got a special guest coming in a couple of minutes to also help us with this topic. I'm going to address just a handful of questions before we get started. But if you have specific questions about stress and emotional eating, that's what I want to hear from. Lisa asked, I'm getting my physical done this morning. What was the blood test I was supposed to tell them to run? I actually have a full guide on my website. You can go to my bio, the link in my bio, and click on the main blue link and then go to free guides. You can download my entire lab list that I suggest that you get done at least once a year. Yay, Christina loves this topic. I do too. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Well, let's dive in and talk about stress and emotional eating. So here's the deal. This is what I always tell people, especially like first of the year. It's January. We're all dialed in. We all have kind of, gotten through the holidays. We feel the effects of what, eating like an asshole, drinking like an asshole has done to our body and our overall health. And we're motivated. The people around us are motivated. There's a lot of support. We have good environments that we're leaning on. So I always say, January, February, March, there is no better time to focus on dialing in your health and wellness because it's the easiest time of year. But what I have seen in my 20 years of practice when it comes to weight management, nutrition, health, and wellness is that there's always specifically one pivotable, I can't say that word, okay, event that happens in your life that really changes the trajectory, another word I can't say, of your habits and your intentions. What do I mean by that? I mean that somebody gets sick, is in the hospital. There's a divorce, we lose our job. We have financial strains, things that are kind of like monumental, where you feel like you're so stressed, your emotions are so high that you just don't have the capacity to focus on the nitty gritty of your health because you can only focus on this one event, taking care of a family member, dealing with a loss, dealing with a job, whatever it may be. And a lot of people can really look back at their weight loss, history and can really identify that moment in which things shifted. And again, it comes back to, just feeling overwhelmed. And I think that is what it is when it comes to emotional and stress eating. It is just the feeling of overwhelm. And, and a lot of us address that feeling, we get comfort through food, and myself included. I definitely feel like when I have high levels of stress in my life, when I feel overwhelmed with a small situation, with a big situation, immediately what do I want? I want something sweet. I want something salty. I want, something that's going to, again, comfort me, comfort food. I don't want, chicken and broccoli. And so today I really want to help you guys identify and find strategies that can help you navigate these types of things in your life. And I think the number one thing that I can say, well, there's two big things that I want to say around this topic. And then I'm going to pull in an expert that is more, versed in kind of speaking on this and other things related to mindset, health, and wellness. But number one, always do something, okay? And that's what I see a lot of people doing. It's January 1, you're taking more steps, you're drinking more water, you're getting more protein, you're eating whole food nutrition, you've cut out the alcohol, like you're doing all these things and you feel great, it's working. But then this event happens and you're like, I need a drink. I'm sitting in a hospital. I don't have time to get my steps in. I can't think about hitting my protein goal now. I'm stuck eating fast food. There are no whole foods available. And so because there's so many things out of your control and you feel like you can't do all those things that you were doing yesterday, we do nothing. Okay. And I see that all the time. And what you have to understand is that every scenario in your life, whether it be some sort of extremely stressful event like I'm talking about, or even just a vacation, a weekend away, a holiday, a birthday, an event, anything like that. It's all about realizing that you can never do nothing. You have to figure out within that scenario, what can you do? If you're, again, stuck in a hospital with a sick family member, it's like, okay, I can get my steps in, every hour I'm going to get up and take a couple of laps around the hospital. I'm going to get my, steps in. Number two, I can still drink my water. So I'm going to make water a priority, Number three, I can probably still hit my protein. Yeah, it may be, eating a burger with French fries, but I'm still, conscious of getting my, protein in. So it's all about that all or nothing mindset. You don't have to be perfect to be successful, but you have to be consistent. And creating that consistency, whether it's a high level of consistency, some days, or it's a low level of consistency, anything is better than nothing. So that's kind of tip number one that I want to stress when it comes to emotional eating, stress eating, those types of things. Number two, awareness. And we talk a lot about this with regards to nutrition. In the lean program, my clients track macros and, log all their food. And it is a tedious process. But the key and the goal, the end goal of doing that activity every day is that it creates nutritional awareness. If you eat a specific bag salad with 4 ounces of chicken, and you track that 5 times, you know exactly how many ounces of chicken you need to make that bag salad hit your protein goal and how much of that dressing you need to hit your, calorie goal, whatever it may be. But again, it's the repetitive nature of, creating more nutritional awareness around your food that allows you to get to the point where you don't have to track forever. So when you find that you are someone that deals a lot with stress and emotional eating, the first thing that you can do is creating awareness around it. Recognizing when you're in that kind of flight or fight moment, that you feel after a really stressful event that makes you think, I need candy, I need, chips, I need, I want to eat a bag of Oreos, whatever. And just, again, sitting in that awareness and being like, what am I doing? Why do I feel this way? Okay, what's triggering this reaction? Clearly, this a stressful event, this emotional event. Okay, how am I going to manage it? And I'm going to bring on Amy in just a second to kind of help with some of those strategies. But and again, I personally, this bringing awareness to us doing this, having these reactions to emotion and stress is number one. How to deal with it is number two. And from my own personal experience, because this is something that I really tried to lean into last year. And some days I was, aware and did something better. Like I went and took a walk. I meditated for 5 minutes. I found a healthier snack. And some days I was like, screw it. I'm eating a box of Oreos, you know? So recognizing that it's not easy, you know, none of this is easy, and you're not going to be perfect. And there's going to be some days in which you manage stress and emotional eating very successfully. And trust me, those days you will feel really empowered and you will feel really good. And there are some days that you won't. And you probably will feel those, you know, kind of depths of regret and frustration. Okay. But it is your ability to kind of, you know, again, bring awareness, you know, do the deed, whatever it may be, good versus bad. And then at the very end of the day, learn from it and aim to do better the next time. So, you know, that's kind of the key when we talk about emotional and stress eating. So, I'm actually going to invite, Amy Nybert. She's my sister-in-law, slash lean accountability coach. But she's also gone through some extensive training when it comes to, and let's see here. Hey, Amy, request again, because I'm not seeing your request. She's gone through extensive training as a health coach around mindset, emotional, stress eating, things, you know, how we sabotage our goals, whether it be health and wellness goals, you know, life goals, you know, career goals. And she really helps her clients to identify these kind of barriers in her life. And let me see if I can find, oh, there she is. Okay. On in your health and wellness journey in terms of, you know, changing your mindset, it kind of has to be at the top of the list, you know.
Hey,
What's up, Amy?
good. How are you?
How's it going? Yay. I'm adjusting because as we, you know, get on here together, I lose my height and everything. But I'm really excited to be for you to join us on this live call. You know, I was polling my clients today to see, like, what do we want to talk about on our Thursday call? And this was overwhelmingly the biggest topic. And I think that, you know, stress and emotional eating is something that, you know, we all kind of are challenged with. And I know that this is something that you work on really specifically in your 4-week program. And I was talking before you jumped on, you know, that I felt like my 2 biggest suggestions in terms of addressing this is, you know, number 1, being aware. Number 2, you know, doing something. Is there anything else that you can kind of add when it comes to emotional and stress eating?
Point, and I just want to encourage, you know, everyone watching that, you know, we're all just doing our best every day, and our capacity differs from day to day. So as long as we're showing up for ourselves in any way, we're good. We're winning. We're in the game. You know, and so I think that's a really good point about just, you know, doing something and recognizing that. And it's, you know, I think this is yet another pitfall of that all or nothing mindset, that we feel like if we didn't do everything really well that day, that it was a failure of the day. And it's just not true. I mean, our emotional capacity to stay focused on our health and wellness, it just differs day to day. So I thought that was a really good point. And, you know, when I work with women on emotional eating, I love that you use the word awareness, because that is the missing link to all of it, is just raising your level of self-awareness.
Yeah, I love you talk about, you know, again, it's so true. You know, every day we're just doing our best. And I think especially as women, we are so hard on ourselves, you know, and we see this in the lean program. I know, you know, again, you help coach every day in there. And, you know, people will give us feedback every night, because that's the daily support and accountability is something that we provide in that program. And they'll, you know, I walked 10,000 steps. I got a workout in. I drank 80 ounces of water. I hit my protein goal. You know, I got good sleep, but I ended up drinking a bottle of wine at the end of the day because of a stressful event. And so I blew it. And it's like, here you have, we're reading Atomic Habits, and we talk about it's
Yeah.
like the votes, the votes that we cast towards the person that we want to be. And here's that person that literally just casted, 7, 8 votes towards being a healthy person, and only 1 vote towards, maybe an unhealthy habit. But yet that 1 vote overshined,
Yeah.
all the good they did. And that, again, that definitely reads into, feeding into that kind of all or nothing mindset. And if you're constantly beating yourself up, over the little things, and it causes you to not see the big things, the big picture, all the other good stuff that you did,
Right.
you will
Yeah.
fail.
I mean,
right, Amy?
You're absolutely right. It's so the missing link is awareness, but the way we talk to ourselves literally is everything. And I don't care if we're talking about weight loss, our career, our relationships, whatever. The way we talk to ourselves is everything. And unfortunately, we talk to ourselves in a super negative way. We would never talk to our daughters the way we allow our own inner dialogue. We would never say the things to our best friend that we say to ourselves. And it's so normalized. I mean, this is the problem. It's so normalized, and we've been doing it for so long that we just think it's the way it is. And, a lot of times when we're beating ourselves up, I don't know, I'm very auditory. I always have a running dialogue going on in my head. I mean, I hear my own voice, and I think a lot of people do that too. So we're hearing our own voice beat ourselves up, and so it becomes fact. And it's just not true. We don't have to believe everything we think, but it's just not true. So when I'm working with women, I'm around emotional eating and stress eating. It really is about raising your level of self-awareness around, because a lot of times we already know our triggers, but sometimes we don't, right? But the underlying theme to all of this, raising our level of self-awareness, is practicing compassion. And that's just what we do not do with ourselves. And, I loved your point earlier. Even if we're all just doing the best we can with the tools that we have, right? Emotional eating, it works. I mean, this is why we keep doing it. It's a very unconscious thought pattern. And so while we know in the moment, this is not in line with my values, this is not in line with my goals, but I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because for a few minutes, it works. We get that hit of dopamine, which is that pleasure center of the brain. We feel better for a few minutes. But then
Absolutely.
we're left with all that negative self-talk.
But then,
I mean, we just start piling it on. And yeah.
times 10,
instead
I
of
feel like, because
instead of
then
showing ourselves some compassion and really being curious about why we made that choice in the moment, we just instead beat ourselves up. But and
beat ourselves up.
I always like to use this analogy when I'm working with women. When our children start learning to walk, they fall down all the time, and we don't like chastise them for falling down. It's like, why couldn't you get that right? You walked yesterday. Why couldn't you get it right all the time now? Why do you keep falling down? We don't do that. We pick them up, we brush them off, we, kiss their boo-boos, tell them, just get back up and try again. And I feel like that's how we should be with ourselves, is, just show ourselves some compassion and know that we're all just doing the best we can.
Give yourself grace. Yes. This is actually something, I've been, sharing my kind of own inner dialogue challenges that I've been having with myself. I mean, again, because I'm not
No.
immune. I mean, I don't think anyone's immune to, again, the way that we think about ourselves and perceive ourselves. And, and again, it will wear you down. And I believe that, my good friend Kemi talks about, it dispiriting you. And I believe that it's like when we continue to, again, pound ourselves and say, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad businesswoman, I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad boss, I can't follow a diet, I can't do my workouts. I mean, it just, it breaks you down. I mean, that's what people do, when they want to break someone down, they
Right.
consistently berate them to the point where
Right.
eventually that person believes it. So again, we're doing that to ourselves on the inside. So why don't you share a couple of, just, quick tips? I mean, anything, maybe if you could just add one quick tip in terms of addressing emotional and stress eating beyond the all or nothing, do something and awareness. Is there anything else that our viewers can, really think about when they find themselves in that
moment?
First,
I just want to encourage you. I want to paint like a picture for you. Picture an iceberg. So the part of the iceberg that's above the water, while it may look enormous, it's very small in comparison to what's below the surface. And this is kind of how our brain is. That part above the water, that's our conscious mind. That's the part that has the willpower. That's the part that has the goals. But it's only about 10 to 15% of our brain. So what's below the surface are all of these things that are going on that are just beyond our level of conscious awareness. It's where those limiting beliefs live. It's where that inner critic lives. It's where it's where our identity lives. And so we're just doing the best we can with what we understand is going on. So I just want to encourage, because I think that people that struggle with emotional eating and stress eating, especially with just emotional eating, like late at night eating, drinking, that kind of thing, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And, I work with so many women, in your program too, that if I could survey 100 people on a Zoom call and say, who here struggles with emotional eating, about 97 of them would raise their hands. And then if I said, okay, well, who here thinks they're the only one in this group that is struggling with this, 97 of them would raise their hands. I mean, I think we all think we're on this little island, that there's something wrong with us. We're a bit broken, but we're not. So one tip I can give for, and I think, a lot of us, stress eating is also an issue that we deal with. And what happens, I think, when we're eating out of stress is that our brain just needs a break. It needs an escape from what is going on, from all of these, this negative inner dialogue, this, challenging or limiting beliefs. Sometimes if it's at work and we're under a huge amount of stress, we can't express what we're really feeling because, we have a job to do. It's not appropriate to yell at our boss. It's not, and so what do? We go to the break room and just start munching on some chips, because it's a way for us to kind of escape that stress. There's even studies that show that the foods that we crave mimic the feelings that we need. So, they don't call it comfort food for nothing, right? I mean, that's where it came from, the comfort food. So,
right.
And it doesn't pan out 100% of the time, but I think it pans out most of the time. So if you find yourself like wanting sweets and soft foods like ice cream and things like that, a lot of times that is an indicator that you need to be soothed. You need some soothing happening. And so a lot of times when we're craving salty, crunchy things, it's because of frustration, stress, and anger. And you think about how the physical chewing of crunchy things almost mimics the feelings that we're having. It's really interesting, but
Yeah, I love that. And I think, for me, in terms of, again, we talked about that awareness. I think another tip is simply saying, okay, I'm stressed. I want to eat, but what's a better option? What's something else I can do when I feel in that situation? Because usually, in potentially 10 or 15 minutes, it kind of passes. So one of the things that I would do in that awareness situation was, and I'm like, okay, I want to emotional eat right now. I want to stress eat, but instead I'm going to go take a 10 to 15-minute walk, So having another action that you can do to address, in the place of emotional eating, I think is a good strategy. Do you agree?
I work on this in my 4-week course. And it's particularly helpful if you already know what your triggers are, so that you can brainstorm a few other activities to get, because in that moment, there's a need that's not being met because you don't know how to meet it in that moment, or you just can't meet it in that moment. Or there's some negative feelings bubbling up. So if you can brainstorm a few other activities to distract yourself just for a few minutes, because you're right, it always passes, and it really is just we need to, and ultimately that's really just a distraction. I think the ultimate goal with emotional eating is to learn how to express what we're feeling. And so I think a super practical tool is to have another activity, to go for a walk, to call a friend, to sit down and just write out everything that you're feeling. Take a hot bath, anything that just kind of can distract you for a few minutes. But I think the ultimate goal is to develop skills to be able to express those uncomfortable feelings in the moment, because that's why we lean on.
We don't do a good job at, I think we're really good at expressing anger, we're really good at expressing I don't know, like really big feelings, but sometimes, we're embarrassed to, I know myself included, just embarrassed to speak, what really truly is in your heart.
This is one characteristic that I've found with emotional eaters. So many of them, I would say at least 90% of them, are people pleasers. And people pleasers do not express what they're feeling. They suffer in silence with it.
Right.
And so, so that's a.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Amy has a really awesome 7-day kind of teaser course coming up, starting on
Sunday, January 22nd.
Starting on Sunday. And it's going to focus on common saboteurs for your health and wellness goals. So I would love to kind of address that just a little bit and give us an idea of, what do you mean by that in terms of,
Go
ahead.
This course just after, coaching for all these years, because what I see is there's some very typical ways that we sabotage ourselves. And, and here's the thing about self-sabotage. It's not that we're doing things against our will. We actually convince ourselves that it's a good idea to do those things that go against our conscious goals towards our health and wellness. So I just kind of made a
Give me the
Well,
example.
so in the morning you wake up, you're like eating all the whole foods today. I'm going to nail my protein. No sweets for me today. You know, I'm 100% in today. And at 10 o'clock, you find yourself eating some fresh donuts that someone brought into to the office. And it's not that you are eating those donuts against your will. You somehow convinced yourself it was a good idea to eat the donuts. And then what happens? All the negative self-talk starts, and you're raking yourself over the coals all day, or you say, well, I might as well eat crap the rest of the day. I'll start over again tomorrow, or maybe I'll just start over again on Monday. And
What are some other like common like self-saboteurs that you see
I
people
think one
doing?
huge one is weekends. We, the week we stay dialed in all week, and then the weekends we, right,
It's like we reward
yeah, yeah, and
ourselves
we
for the
start
good that we
over
did,
again
you
on
know?
Monday.
Yeah.
I think that, the
Yeah.
nightly drinking, 2 or 3 glasses of wine, we know it's not on our plan, even if we make it fit in our macros. It's still sabotaging our health and wellness, and we know it, but yet we can't seem to, yeah, we still do it.
Still
And
do it.
so, another one I see often is I'm traveling for work, so I can't stay on plan while I'm traveling for work. And people will recognize them, and they call them excuses, and they're not. I don't like the word excuses. I think it's just the way that we're talking to ourselves around these things.
Yeah, but I think you can look at it as an excuse. I think some people do look at it as an excuse. And I think when you're looking at it as an excuse, it is like, I have to travel for work, so there's no way
Yeah,
that I am able to eat healthy. Or you can look at it as a barrier or an
right,
obstacle that you have to overcome. Because, obviously it is a myth
right,
that you cannot eat healthy on the road.
right.
It is just
It's just
about
the
what
way that you're.
choices that you're making. So again, it kind of comes back to your mindset and how you're framing the
Yeah,
situations in
yeah.
your
I mean,
life.
so yeah,
So
I love
I
to
love
give
that.
them practical
Yeah,
tools,
I
but
think
it's also, it's just what's going on in between our ears. It's just the way we're talking to ourselves about all of these
yeah,
situations. Um,
I think another sabotage that people see, and I'm not sure if this is one that you guys talk about over the next 7 days, is environment. I always tell people you have to set, and I'm sure you talk a lot about
mhm,
willpower. Willpower is a joke. We're
right,
running on willpower right now in January, but
right,
willpower will not get you to the finish line. So it is about creating an environment that sets you up for success. And I kind of equate it to being like an alcoholic. If you're an alcoholic and you have to quit alcohol, you're not going to rely on willpower
mhm,
to do that. You're going to put yourselves in situations and create an environment that's going to make your ability to avoid alcohol
right,
so much easier. And so it's like you're not going to have a fully stocked bar in your home, if you're dealing with alcohol abuse. And it's the same thing with your health and wellness. I mean, there are just you've got to live an environment that sets you
yeah.
up to be successful, to do
It's
the things consistently that
making
you
those
want to
good
do.
habits
So,
visible and those
uh,
bad habits invisible, right? Yeah.
invisible. Yeah, exactly. Well, again, Amy has a great kind of 7-day preview course. If you're struggling with, sabotaging your own, goals, if you're constantly starting and stopping, if you have a lot of barriers in your life that you're struggling to overcome, and you're not sure how to navigate those, to make yourself successful, it sounds like this 7-day course would be absolutely for you. So I'm gonna Amy will comment on the first post and I'll pin it underneath this video, and you can head over to her page, link in her bio, and sign up for that. What's it called so they know what to look
It's
for?
the very first link in my bio. It's a 1 week SSS mini session. It's only $19 for 1 week. And I'm gonna give you so many little tips and tools on just how to change the way you talk to yourself and how to think about situations that trip you up. And if you're struggling with emotional eating, reach out. You know, I have a 4-week course that helps women with that too. Change the way we talk to ourselves and raise awareness around this truly common obstacle for so many of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely give her a follow. She's putting out great content on that every single day. So, all right, guys, another Thursday in the books. I'll be back next Thursday. Who knows what time, but thank you so much, Amy, for being here. I appreciate everything you do for this community and your clients and mine. So here's to an awesome weekend, guys. I'll see you next week.